All right, my loves, now we're going to go into Cancer. What do you beautiful Cancer BBs need to hear for the month of March? Okay, actually, do four. There's a lot of four. That means 4 cards that want to be pulled. So we have clarity, duality, growth, remember. All right, BBs. Again, this is for Cancer. So for the month of March, what Spirit would like, what my guides want to share with y'all, is the importance of remembering that growth takes time. Growth happens through realizations and experiences in life that may oftentimes be in the form of pain, in the form of sadness, in the form of contraction. When we can embrace the change that takes place, when we can embrace the resistance, the unknown, the discomfort within that contraction, we open up ourselves, we open up our hearts to seeing the complete full circle of who we are as an individual. And then when we gain that understanding that we ourselves are complex, that the person to the right, the person to the left, in front and in back are all moving within their own spheres of complexity and change and growth, that we can be understanding of one another, more accepting of one another, and most importantly, more accepting within the self. When you are in contraction or moving against your own river of emotion, of needs, of perception, when your eye, your gaze, your mental body, your thoughts go against what is needed within your heart, within your emotions, within your body, we forget what is important. We forget who we are. We become confused and in a haze, dazed with uncertainty, when in actuality, if you took a moment to breathe, to exhale, with each inhale and exhale, you're able to see. They're saying, my light fell off. They're saying like rivets, but they're showing what looks more like scales, like snake scales or like scales on a reptile. You're able to see the scales of growth that you have earned, that you have endured, that you've experienced. March for you is going to be a time to remember to move slowly, to be intentional, and to really witness. This is me speaking now, so I was channeling there. That was Charles, one of my other guides. So to wrap this up here, Cancers, March is going to be a time for you to move really slowly. If honestly, it doesn't really feel like a lot of like external action. It honestly feels like what you're going to find yourself needing to do or being called to do is to be a lot of internal work. So you might be feeling activated or triggered emotionally, perhaps like regarding where you are, you know, in life, internally, externally, within career, relationship, personal things, or just simply like just witnessing where you are within your community. And it's not a sense of being like frustrated. It's just, if you find yourself kind of like confused, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. Remember that whenever we are moving through growth, whenever we are moving through change, it doesn't always make sense. Change and growth and expansion isn't always comfortable. You know, people talk about like, oh, my spiritual awakening, as if like it's like this beautiful like epiphany, rainbows and butterflies and starbursts and all the stuff that's like, a gorgeous experience, which it is, but let's also be real. It is painful. It is uncomfortable. Most people anyone that I speak to talks about their spiritual awakening. It wasn't like all rainbows and butterflies. That came afterwards, after the experience of pain, after the experience of loss, after the experience of like hitting rock bottom and just being like, what the F? And then that aha moment. So remember that. Be loving, be kind, be tender with yourselves, be patient, okay? Be be the caretaker that you are for others, for yourself. And the little saying, this time will too pass. So just be loving, you know. And if that doesn't mean like, oh, to, you know, I'm going to be tender and loving with myself means that we're going to accept or it's going to ease the discomfort. No, but at least know that, like, okay, I may not understand what's going on, and I can be frustrated about where I'm at, or feel about the fact that I feel confused about where I'm at, or whatever it may be. But I give myself the permission to honor those feelings and choose to place my power and focus in just holding space for myself. I hope that makes sense. All right, boos. Now we're going to move into Leos. What do Leos need to hear for the month of March? What does March have in store for y'all? Beautiful, fiery Leos. Okay. We have pleasure, growth, let it go, and believe. All right. March for you, Leos, feels really supple. It feels really beautiful. It honestly feels like a time of celebration. It feels a time of like growth, not just growth like internally, but seeing things in the material, your material external worlds coming to like fruition, and maybe not a complete fruition, right? Like some of you, yes, depending on what your goals are, right? Like depending on what your goals are, what your dreams are, what's going on with each and single one of you, right? But it very much feels like what this pleasure, this joy, this expansion has to do with feels like it's within the external material world. So that may be career, that may be monies, that may be relationships. This isn't internal. Like this is something that's like, okay, cool. I've been feeling that way for some time, about time that I see it like take up space and like come to life in my lived external material world experience. Now, the other thing that I do want to say, though, is to be cautious with that, because to not get comfortable or to begin to, like, once you receive the thing or see it happen, being like, ooh, what else can I do? What else can come in? I.e., be cautious of the egoic mind. Not necessarily, I mean, maybe a little bit of the inflated ego, but it's more of to not be distracted by the added things that don't really matter. So let's say you like have been working towards a promotion, right? And you got that promotion, like, hell yeah, I got it. I've been wanting, or the dream job, whatever. And your income has increased, right? Or perhaps like any amount of opportunity, like exposure has increased, right? Let's stay grounded in who we are and in our joy and in our truths, so that we're not then distracted by, distracted by our original goals, right? Where it's like, oh, I have all this extra now, like income, I can do whatever, which you can, right? Like I'm not gonna tell you what to do with your money or what to do with your life, but to be cautious that we're not like, oh, my original goal or joy or desire was, you know, perhaps just to have a stable income. And now it's like, you know what? Now that I have this, I'm gonna treat myself to that brand new car, even though I don't need it. And again, not here to tell or judge what you need to do or, you know, what you want to do in your life. But if it's not supportive or aligned with what your original joy was, it can perhaps possibly create space to cause harm, you know, meaning if the goal was to have stable income, we have the new income that's been reached, and then you go and spend it with disregard, you may find yourself still in that position of feeling unstable within finances. Does that make sense? They're not specific. This is just an example. This is my example. They're not telling me this example. To wrap it up here for you, Leos, it feels like a wonderful time where what it is that you've been wanting, working towards, desiring, joy, it's going to be experience, pleasure, joy, abundance. All of these beautiful things are going to be experienced in your material external world. But it's going to be important to recognize between growth, okay, and the egoic mind, our egoic selves, right? Like that are the imbalanced ego speaking of saying, oh, do more, you got to do more, you got to do this, we want, you know what I mean? have faith in who you are, and that what you are working towards and what's coming into your life is yours, but stay focused on your joy. Stay focused on what you named as a joy, and that joy can change. It's just be cautious of like things that you may get distracted by. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Now we're gonna go into beautiful Virgos. What do you Virgo BBs need to hear? Does the month of March bring Virgo? Okay. Ooh, one more. All right. Ooh, so we have death, secrets, anger, patience, birth. All right, my loves. So the month of March is going to bring change and closure, whether you invite it in or you do not invite it in. It's going to be coming. It's going to be one of those things where it's like, this needed to take place no matter what. So whether you took action or took it upon yourself to create that closure, to create that release, to create that ending, or you don't, it's coming. And the thing is that this feels like it's not anything that's been a secret. This is something that you've known. Okay, this is something that you've known within yourself. This is something that's felt unsettled within the body. Like it feels like it's something that you've, like the body, your subconscious has accepted this. Like it's realized it, it's known this, and there's been like the frustration of like, why am I not allowing this change to take place or this ending to take place, or why hasn't it happened already? Meaning like, what is standing in my way? I.e., perhaps the self, perhaps our conscious, living person, egoic mind is the one that's creating that block, has been the one that has not allowed the final acceptance of and physical action to allow what's needed to come to an end. And it sucks. I understand that. Like, endings can oftentimes be painful, even if they involve the very thing that we want, right? Like, because we can grieve over endings that move us in a direction that we want to be in, right? We can grieve over, paths that we were once on, versions of ourselves that have ended, that have morphed into something different. We can grieve over those things, but it's important that we remember that we actively participate in allowing the closures, the endings to take place. Obviously, not everything is in our control, but what we can control is how we choose to move in flow, in rhythm, in alignment with what is wanting to take place, or we choose to resist it. We choose to kind of look the other way or avoid it. Now, another thing that this feels like for some of you, for other some of you, it feels like this has already taken place. Like perhaps there's already been like an ending. You're like, damn, like now what? If that's the case for you, the previous message of like needing to assess or like needing to like allow like this other closure, this ending is going to take place, isn't for you. But this next bit to this message is for all of you, all Virgos. Patience is going to be key, okay? Like, it may not happen this month, but it will happen. You have to remember, when one thing ends, when there is death, there is rebirth. Whether that be you lose a job that you weren't wanting to lose, a partnership, relationship, romantic or platonic, ends that you weren't wanting, whether you wanted it or you didn't want the ending to take place. There is always rebirth after death. And so rather than focus on what has ended, what was lost, you can grieve over it. Your feelings are valid. Let's focus on what we wish to be rebirthed, what we wish to see from this death, okay? And if some of you are wondering like, well, I don't know what that is, I invite you to kind of like just not try to figure it out. Meaning, if you want to figure it out, try not to be in your mind, in your mental body of like, what is that? What is it? What does that mean? Drop in with your emotional body. and just pay attention to how you've been feeling. You know, take a look at every area of your life. You know, okay, let me think of like the relationships in my life. How do I feel about those? Let me think of my career. How do I feel about those? How do I feel about my day-to-day routine? How do I feel about myself? And how do I feel about my joys and my desires? So on and so forth. And just pay attention to what your body communicates to you. Your body, your emotions, your physical sensations and your emotional feelings, sensations will communicate to you what feels out of alignment or off. And then that may be the area in which you can dive in to discern what is ready or has been ready to be released. And sometimes it's also like what I'm hearing right now, it's like sometimes it's like just the acceptance of the dynamic of this partnership relationship has shifted, has changed. Am I still holding on to what it used to be or what I thought it was or I'd hoped it to be? Perhaps I need to just say it is what it is. Let me focus on what I want so I can make space for the things that I want. All right, my loves. I hope that message is supportive for you.